Hello, this is Matt Nelson and welcome to the first video in a new series dealing with sample SQL data provided by Microsoft for the Worldwide Importers database. So the Worldwide Importers is the more modern version of their sample database. It took the place of AdventureWorks, and it's a fictitious company that is a wholesale novelty goods importer and distributor who mostly resells to individuals. So there's an inventory management system, there's an order flow to the database, and for our purposes, I want to look at the invoice data and then analyze that data using a dashboard built in PowerPivot. So in this video, we're just going to work in SQL to get our data set. So you can get the backup file from the Microsoft website and then restore it to an instance of SQL Server. I'm not going to get into how to do that, but assuming that you've successfully restored the database, we can then begin working with the data set. So there are actually very few tables in the database. It's not that big of a database. There are a lot of transactions, but the overall schema is fairly small, and there are different schemas in the database. There's application, purchasing, sales, and warehouse. So today we're just going to deal with invoices, and I'd like to build the query from the header first. So what we're interested is in tracking revenue and cost. So the revenue and cost are provided in the invoice lines, the details, and to get information about customers and header information about the invoice, we need the invoices table. So we'll begin by looking at the columns available. And we see that there's a lot of foreign keys and a primary key. So we can start out with select, sales, invoices, invoice ID. And just to get started, we'll put in our from statement. And this gives us a list of all the invoice headers. So we have 70,510 invoices, but that's not enough. We need to join some tables. So we're going to use an inner join. So that means only results from both tables are returned. So we want now to join the invoice lines table. And we will put that join on invoice lines.invoiceID equals sales.invoices.invoiceID. So now we can use lines from the invoices. We can use the details for those lines, and that provides us with many more results. This is getting into the line level. So before we select anything from the invoice lines table, let's continue with some header information that will be useful in our analysis. So we have the sales, invoices, invoice date, that'll be useful. And then we have the customer ID, but we don't have the customer name. The customer is in a different table. So we want to see this customers table in addition to the invoice line. So that's another join. So let's go ahead and join customers. Let's put the schema in there properly. Sales customers dot customer ID equals sales dot invoices dot customer ID. So now we can use the name of the customer. So the customer name. Now alternatively, in PowerPivot, we could just leave the customers as a separate table into our data model. That is more efficient with a relationship join, but I want to work with one single data set here. So we'll go ahead and put the customer name in the results. And now we have enough tables to work with. So let's jump to the invoice lines and see what we can work with here. We also have stock item ID. I'm going to leave that alone for the time being, but that is also useful. It links to the warehousing schema for inventory information. But we'll just take the description, invoice lines, and I'm going to put brackets on this because description is a system function and we don't want to confuse the query. If we didn't have the brackets, description would be in blue, just like the on and from commands. Description is a similar command. And for this purpose, I don't want to necessarily look at quantity and unit price, at least not yet. I want to just look at revenue and cost. And in this model, I have the extended price and the line profit. So the difference between those two would be the cost. So here, I just want invoice lines again. And I'll take extended price. And I want the line profit. And let's see what kind of result we get with that. Takes a few seconds to run. But I have 228,265 rows. So that gives us enough to work with in a dashboard. So in the next video, we'll install this data set into PowerPivot and then begin to make our visualizations. So I hope you liked this video. I hope you found it useful. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe.